Just before we get into this video, guys, if you want to follow me on social media, on Twitter and Instagram, the links are here. And if you also want to support me on Patreon as well and help out my channel, that would be absolutely awesome as well. But let's get on with the video. Hello everyone, and welcome to another comic book review. Now, I can't actually remember the last time I did one of these. It's a while ago now, and I think I spoke about Ultimate Spider-Man. Pretty sure I did. Anyway, this time out, we are going to be looking at what I think is one of the most brilliant and iconic moments, not just in DC, but in comic book history, which is the Flashpoint Paradox. For me, the Flash is one of those superheroes that I've always liked and I've always enjoyed. One of my favourite cartoons growing up was, in fact, the Justice League cartoon. And the Flash, which is the Wally West version in that, was one of my favourite characters. And ever since then, obviously, we've had the TV show, he's appeared in movies, he's appeared in plenty of cartoons. Like, the Flash is everywhere, ironically. But I don't think there's too many stories that really put him through the ringer quite like this one. So for those of you who don't know, the Flashpoint Paradox was a comic book storyline quite a few years ago now, which was to essentially reboot the DC universe, and then that led into the New 52. Now, I've covered one or two New 52 storylines in this series, and I personally really like it. The Court of Owls, I spoke about that. Really great story. I am going to be talking about the Justice League at some point as well. That's also very, very good. But with this one, what had happened was basically DC had gotten to a point where there's so many different universes and multiple Earths and things like that. So they needed to basically trim the fat. They needed to streamline everything, do a basically soft reboot everything, have everything essentially the same but just a little bit different. And they thought, how do we do that? Well, we've got a character here in the Flash who can travel through time because he can run fast enough. So let's have something happen to him, and the consequences of that affect the entire universe. So that's a bit of the background stuff. Now, the actual story itself, it starts off with the Flash just, well, being the Flash. You know, stories like this, they often start out with the hero going through a bit of a high point just to crash him back down to earth. And obviously, he's got the Justice League, he's a well-regarded hero, he's well-respected, but the problem is Barry Allen, if you've seen the TV show, you know all of this stuff anyway. Barry Allen, when he was very young, he lost his mum. And so he keeps thinking about, you know, going back and saving his mum, and should he do it? Until one day he wakes up and the entire world is different. He doesn't know why, he doesn't know how, he hasn't got his powers anymore. He gradually discovers that certain things and certain people haven't happened the way that he remembers them. So for example, nobody knows who Superman is. Bruce Wayne is dead, and Thomas Wayne is Batman. Atlantis and Themyscira, so Aquaman and Wonder Woman, they're at war with each other, and this war is so big that it will probably end the fucking world. Hal Jordan never got the Green Lantern ring. Stuff like that. There's so much stuff where you're just like, oh, okay, that's an interesting spin on it. Actually, carrying on with Superman a bit, he does exist in this. However, he doesn't land in Smallville and go to the Kent farm when he first crashes from Krypton. He lands in Metropolis and gets captured by the government, and so he's not this big, strong superhero that, you know, flies around and saves the day. He's this lab rat, essentially, that they experiment on, and he's this weedy little figure. Like, he's still got the powers of Superman, but he's locked away constantly. So yeah, stuff like that, and he's trying to figure out, like, how the fuck has this happened? Like, what? Gradually, throughout the entire story, Barry realizes that it must be the Reverse Flash. Because if there's anybody out there in the world, in the universes aplenty, the one fucking person that hates Barry Allen more than anybody else is Eobard Thawne. Now again, if you've seen the TV show, you will know about Eobard Thawne, and you will know about the Reverse Flash, Professor Zoom, whichever you want to call him. Some iterations are different, but basically he is essentially reverse of the Flash. You know, everything that the Flash is, the Reverse Flash is not. Even his costume is a reverse colour scheme of what the Flash wears. And so there's a couple of moments in this where he genuinely taunts him. So there's a moment where the Flash opens up his ring and it's the yellow costume that the Reverse Flash wears. Little moments like that just to get under his skin. But like I say, he doesn't have his powers. So he needs to figure out, okay, what the fuck has happened? What am I going to do? How am I going to get my powers back? And there's this really great scene where he goes to the Batcave. Obviously, like I say, it's not Bruce, it's Thomas Wayne. They have a little bit of a thing. And then he's like, listen, right, where I come from, I know your son. he's Batman and I'm the Flash and I can do all of this. I was struck by lightning, and yeah, like, you just have to trust me on this. And there's a scene it's pretty horrible, because they try and recreate how he got his powers. So he tries to get struck by lightning, and he ends up just flat out just getting struck by lightning like any other person. Like, no benefits from it whatsoever. He literally just gets struck by lightning and he's burnt to shit. He's like Anakin at the end of episode 3 level fucked up. And then when you read moments like that, you're just kind of like, how is he going to get out of this? Because he's fucked. And then mentally, because you would, obviously, if that's happened to you, then you would naturally do it again. And then he eventually gets his powers back so he can start doing all the flashy stuff that he does. And from there, obviously, like, the war between Aquaman and Wonder Woman has ramped up to the point where there is any day now going to be the trigger for the end of everything. And so not only has the Flash got to figure out what has happened, he's got to find the Reverse Flash, try and undo everything. He's got a time limit to do it as well. The stakes are so incredibly high in this, and like I say, because a lot of the Justice League either don't exist or aren't quite who the Flash knows them as, or they themselves are totally different people, both metaphorically and literally. He's essentially by himself as well. He's got the help of Batman, obviously, because Batman, regardless of who Batman is fucking awesome. But yeah, it leads to a final showdown with the Reverse Flash, and you realise that it wasn't actually the Reverse Flash that did any of this. It was Barry. He went back in time himself and he saved his own mum. But in turn, that was the catalyst for everything else to happen. For whatever reason, you know, it's the whole argument of, you know, if you go back in time and you just tread on a butterfly, the butterfly effect is what it's called. But yeah, if you go back in time and you tread on a butterfly, that will have repercussions for everything, because that butterfly would have gone here, or, you know, it would have landed there, or all these sort of things, right? All these possibilities, all these different outcomes. If you change even what seems like the most insignificant thing, it can have a catastrophic effect on the rest of the course of history. And the Flash learns this. He's just like, fuck, I messed up here. This is quite bad. And especially as I'm supposed to be a superhero and a member of the Justice League, I've actually been quite selfish as well. Understandably selfish though, because I think anybody in his situation probably would have cracked a hell of a lot fucking sooner. But what I love, again, about the Reverse Flash is he taunts him about this. He's just like, oh, see, the world is ending because the Flash couldn't live without his mummy. I can't actually remember in this, I know it is in the show, but I can't remember if it is in this iteration that it was actually the Reverse Flash in the first place who killed his mum. So when you think about it like that, it's fucked, like some of the stuff that the Flash has to go through. That is a brief sort of summary of what goes on. I won't tell you anything else after that, because you've got to sort of see it for yourself. I mean, I did ruin quite a bit of it. I mean, there's a fair few things that I've left out here. Like, I haven't really mentioned about Cyborg or Shazam or what they're up to. I haven't really gone into too much detail about why Aquaman and Wonder Woman are fighting, or some of the other details about that. There's some other details about Batman that I didn't say. But yeah, there is a lot going on in this story. It isn't just plain and simply a Flash story. There are other strands, other elements, other character arcs that are in this that are really interesting to see. I love alternate universe stuff. I love seeing characters that we know and love different. You know, seeing somebody who isn't Bruce Wayne be Batman is really refreshing, even if it is a relative, you know, it is his dad. It's interesting to see that version of Batman and how he would have turned out compared to how Bruce turned out, because Thomas Wayne's Batman uses guns and shit. Like, he doesn't have a no-kill rule. He's literally a force to be reckoned with. Whereas obviously Bruce Wayne, as cool as he is, will hold back. He won't use guns, he won't kill, unless he's in a Zack Snyder movie. Seeing this disheveled version of Superman as well is actually quite heartbreaking, because Superman is supposed to be that symbol of hope. That's who he is in the DC universe. So to see him so weak, really, and vulnerable is really interesting, because Superman for me is quite a vanilla character, because he is supposed to be Mr. Perfect, and to see him not perfect is cool. I like it. But then it's the dilemma that the Flash has as well. He's just like, all I wanted was my mum. That's all I just wanted her back, and I didn't know that all this stuff that has happened would have happened, because otherwise I probably wouldn't have done it. You know, the end of the world is not worth one life. I've said that the wrong way around. One life is not worth, you know, the destruction of the world and everything that we know. There's a lot of really cool and grim moments. I think that's the main thing that I take from this story, is that it is quite grim. It is quite dark, and you know, seeing this character like the Flash, who is, you know, he's dressed in a fucking bright red leotard. Like, you don't expect a character like that, who looks the way that he does, to be, you know, dark and gritty, but seeing him in that actually works. You know, seeing this usually happy-go-lucky character who's always cracking jokes and he's always just like, haha, I'm the Flash, get a load of me. Seeing him in a situation where he is down and out and he can't do anything, and he does feel hopeless, and he's going through so many decisions in his head where he's just like, I want to save her, but if I do, then this happens, and then obviously I've got him there, and then, you know, these people who I thought were my friends don't even know who I am, and there's just so much shit on his shoulders in this story, and it really takes its toll on him throughout the entire thing. I've seen the animated movie as well, and there's a moment where, I won't say what these words are, but he says 3 words and it chokes me up every single time, because it is such a simple thing that he says, but when he says it, you fucking feel it, and it is heartbreaking. Overall for me though, guys, the Flashpoint Paradox is an iconic story. It is a fantastically written one. It has everything that you want from a comic book, as in, you know, it's drawn well, written well, there's some great action, there's so much stuff, there's a nice different take there on multiple different characters that you know and love. Some of them work better than others, obviously. It's also nice to see the Flash in a setting that isn't what he's accustomed to, you know, so it isn't going to be bright lights, bright colours, everything's great. This time it is, you know, grey and horrible. For me, the Flashpoint Paradox easily is a 9 out of 10. Has some issues in certain places, like I think certain things could have been explored a bit more, but I'm not going to hold that against it, because the rest of it is fucking amazing. In the comments below though, guys, let me know what you think. Have you read the Flashpoint Paradox? Have you seen the animated movie? Whatever it is, let me know. I would highly recommend that you do go out and either read it for yourself, watch the animated movie. They are both brilliant. They are both essentially the same. I think there's minor differences here and there, but overall it's the same fucking thing. Either way, let me know what you think of them down below. If you enjoyed this, make sure you leave a like on it, subscribe for more. Social media and Patreon links will be in the description, as always. And if you would follow me on any of those things, I'd absolutely love you forever. But until next time, guys, you take care of yourselves. Goodbye. Has its issues. There are a couple of, because it's a comic book. Well done.